working. By the way, sorry, I'm looking right side. Just my main monitor is here. So.
It's fun.
Okay, let me check if everything is working. My check, one test, 1, 2, 3. Check, one test, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it seems it's working. Should I send you over my Twitch link, by the way? Do you want to follow up with the chat, or should I just read out loud the questions at the end? What questions will be coming up from my community?
Do you mean like how to show the questions?
No, I'm just asking if I should send you over my Twitch link so you can follow up the chat with the chat. Yeah, because
I
at the end
think.
of the stream, I always like let my community ask questions.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Okay. I will read it out loud for you, and I will also send
Okay.
you the Twitch link. Okay, and also let me open up the game's Steam page so I can include it in the chat as well.
Okay.
Then we can actually start. Okay, let me copy paste it here. And okay. Okay, let me sit into my original position here. You can hear me well, right? So there is, like I said, no.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let us know if we can start, if you can hear both of us and see both of us. So please let us know. Let us know. Okay, my mic is. Hölgyek, urak, nyugodtan tudassátok velünk, hogy kezdhetünk. Let us know if we can start. And like I'm always saying at the end of the interview, you will be able to ask questions. We can start? Nice. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, let me know if we can start. Are you down?
Yeah. I'm
Nice.
fine.
Okay. Welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. I'm here today joined with the creator of the game called 1001 Nights, and I'm very honored and very thankful that he joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Hi everyone. I'm Yuqian Sun. I'm a game developer, also a researcher and artist. I'm currently a PhD student at London Royal College of Art. Yeah, so I'm a developer of 1001 Nights. It's a game. It's a game based on language model and actually started really early, like in the 2020s. And for a long time, like after witnessing the improvement of AI technology, I decided to put it from academia and art gallery into an indie game. And the demo will launch soon this month, in the end of this month. And welcome to add to Steam wishlist.
Thank you for that. Okay, so my first really question would be like, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your life?
Yeah, actually, like we have like computer classes in primary school, so I play Super Mario. I don't think that's a kind of authentic Super Mario, but it indeed is Super Mario. And I also I had a Game Boy Advanced when I was in primary school, so I played I played Kirby. I forget the full name of that version, but it's Kirby. But I mean, had an adventure in a world of mirrors. You need to collect the fragments of the mirrors. So that's like early memory about video games. Yeah, and I play all through the Pokemon until the recent version.
I see. Nice. And from that time of you loving video games, what was the first click that really helped you transition into making games, not just playing them?
I have like more I have more like complex journey.
Okay,
So I haven't positioned myself like okay I will make a video game one day. I even but like I have always positioned me myself as a media artist.
I see.
Like I don't know if yeah, so media artists usually like we do interactive storytelling, we do interactive works, but we may not position us as games. I made a lot of chatbots like have a, like weird reactions towards the input message, and I have always interested in the conversational AI since I was in like middle school. I think
I see.
that's the early time when Siri was released. Like I have always like intricate. I was interested in like conversational AI. I think that's interesting. But like one day, when I was doing my master degree, I joined a game development class, and then because I have always interested in conversational AI, even though back to then that's 2020, no one really have interest into language model. But I think okay, I'm definitely gonna make a game based on natural language interactions. I definitely do that, and then just the one other one that came into my mind, and I do that. So I do make several like mini game before that, but that's mostly for courses. I don't regard it as like my like core work. But from so one other one nice, it's like it has a long journey. So it's actually like officially my first video game I made.
I see.
So I switch from my position, not switch, like I kind of add a role as a game designer uh, into my role as a media artist. But the starting point is always like still as a media artist. I said I think this kind of interaction would be cool and fun, and finally this work is very suitable, or in my mind it should become a game. So that's how I start.
I see. Okay. Okay. And as for if we go down the road for your future plans, I know it's very early to talk about your future, but are you like still planning to make video games after the release of your very first game? Like, do you feel like you found yourself in this life of yours of making games for yourself and for the people out there?
Yeah, actually, still not sure to be honest, because even this game, you can see like we're still planning to release as a demo. But to be
I see.
honest, like if it's someone else doing that, they may put it into the like early access. I don't know, but for me, it's like it's still, even though I already put a lot of time into this game, but it's still just a start, or I hope it is just a start. Currently, the gameplay, like you see, you can input stories and you can see the story emerge in this world. But I mean, it's just a start. I haven't finished yet. I still have a long journey for me to finish, so I cannot say what will happen later. And I
I
don't
see.
have funding. Like I do everything just. I have a tiny team, but like we are just self-funded. I me personally cover all the cost, so I don't really know what will happen.
I see.
That's also why we didn't join Next Fest because we don't know like what will happen later.
I see.
Yeah, and as a game based on I call it AI native, like because the core gameplay is based on language model. It's we don't have many reference like to see oh this is this kind of genre will go. So everything was too fresh to me, so I don't know what happened later.
I see. I see. And how do you felt about the fact that your game has a very unique aspect of like improvising and having unique mechanics as for
Mm.
storytelling? How do you felt about it? Like, was it like scary to enter this dungeon of video game making with your very unique vision?
Mm, I think it's fun, but also a little bit stressful.
I
So
see.
this game, like just to introduce the audience, this game is like based on the folklore of the One Nights. So just like the original folklore, there's a king who kill a girl every day. So you are Shahrazad, you become his next bride. You in the original one, like you tell a story every night to the king, and king was so engaged, so he won't kill you. But in our game, it's like you need to tell story to the king, which is driven by language model. You need to trick him to mention some specific words like sword or shield. You have the magic to turn the words into the real weapons. So in this current game, it was actually started as an artwork in gallery. Like when I made the initial demo in 2020, I started to receive some invitation from gallery because
I
I'm
see.
media artist. I'm more familiar with that. So it was showcased in like Beijing, Shanghai, New York in several arts exhibitions because usually in arts, like people, I mean, especially in contemporary and media arts, people usually like is more open or they are getting used to weird experiments with new technologies. So this game was showcased as art installation for about 2 years, and then in academia as a research project by myself for that years. So one night last year, I decided like after the release of ChatGPT, I think okay now many of the problem I have met in development is can be solved, and I can see it's I think it works to make it into an indie game like everyone can play on Steam. Like they don't need to go to art gallery. All players, not only the art fans, but also like all the kind of players can do that. So I think okay now let's make it into an indie game. But when I change the position to this is an experimental artwork, whatever. I don't care how people view it into an indie game. Like let's have a Steam page. let's let's have Steam page. Let's collect the wish list. Let's join the Steam festival. The things really change a lot because usually like in art gallery you can have comments from yourself. You can have a label explaining what happens. People are accept okay we have someone who explaining what's happening here. But as an indie game, it's need to explain everything by itself.
True.
This work should speak everything by itself.
True.
And meanwhile, while like developing this game, it's kind of witness how people's positions and view towards AI change, and has conflicts, has discussion, it's becoming controversial, and I totally understand that. So to making this game and to make this game into an indie game is also finding the position or observing the discussion about AI. That's also make some stress because, for example, when we only released the Steam page in early this year because before that, Steam doesn't allow any form of AI content, which I totally understand. But I think they did well because in the survey in Steam, when they allow that, they also understand. Like they said, do you use artificial intelligence for real time content generation or you use that to generate a set? You need to declare that and you need to put that in your Steam page. So yes, as you'll see, I do become a little bit stressed because everything is too new to me. I'm just a totally like newbie developer in terms of game development rather than just an artist. And meanwhile, it's very fresh and new for all kinds of developers to figure out how should we positions about AI.
I see. I see. And do you feel like a lot of people are like scared and close-minded about AI because they do not understand it? Do you feel like it's because of that?
Um, I do see some, but it's also it depends on how I explain. I still me myself like trying to figure it out. For example, for streamers, we usually only contact streamers who already play a game based on AI before, so they won't be freaking out. Otherwise, like in when we like promote or like when other developers or like the media like share our game, there's always like some comments will say, "Oh, how you dare to share a game like that?" But I genuinely understand because I think when they said maybe it's because they don't understand how it works, but it's also like consequence about like the public discussion and public education about what's exactly happening in the games based on AI.
I
So
see.
I think it's fine. I think it's also like the meaning and my goal to make this game is to see how people react and to see how should we respond to them.
I see. I see. I see. But that's a very nice like message of your game as well, because like I think like we are living in such an era right now where people are like really like disoriented about AI, right? So they are not sure what it is or what to do with it. They are just making funny songs and funny like conversation with AI, most of them. But that's also they really have to learn about it more. Yeah. Okay,
Mm.
so if you don't mind a personal question, I will ask now. So, how do you feel? Were your like family, close family members and friends supportive about your decision that you started making your own game? How do you feel about that?
Let me think. I think like at least my parents, my family, they don't really care. Like it's just like, oh yeah, Yuqian is still making arts, making works. Yeah, they don't know the difference because I've always like produced arts. I
I
joined
see. I see.
galleries, I joined exhibitions. They don't see like much they don't understand the difference. So I always share like, oh, here is an art exhibition. I show my work. Actually, this game is still showing in some art exhibition, and so they don't know the difference. Like, oh, hey, this is a game, like indie game, and difference with they don't know the difference between Gamescom and other art galleries. But my friends, I started to meet. I have many like artist friends like making game, but I think in terms of their game, they don't usually like to launch on Steam or share is like it's a downloadable game is already like huge. It's a huge achievement because they
It's
usually
true. It's
like
true.
my artist friends, my media artist friends, they don't usually need to care about they don't care about like oh the Steam comments and Steam wishlist. They don't care. This most important part is to show themselves to make it work to impress to present in front of other people.
I see.
But like when I switch into indie game, I start to meet more like new indie game friends who like discuss how to sell, how to join the festival to collect wish lists, how to face with the comments from the public. So I think it's like a different. Like my friends and my family always like they don't really care. So I think there's such a huge support. Meanwhile, I'm meeting new friends. I'm getting in touch with more friends into indie developers, and then I'm really glad like when they share of my about my game on social medias. Yeah, I'm really grateful towards that.
I see. I see. Okay. Nice. 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 Love that story. Okay. So, what do you think? So, I believe that all of us creators who make our own craft, we always intentionally tend to and willing to put our inner self, our stories, experiences, memories into
Mm.
the craft that we make. Is it true for you as well? This
Yes.
statement of mine. Okay.
Yes, so you can see the 1001 Nights, the original folklore is about the king is evil, like he marry and kill a girl every day. But in the original one, like the one version, I don't know if you heard about that, but in the
Yeah.
version most people heard about it. Oh, after 1000 nights, Shahrazad, the king was moved, so Shahrazad still married to the king, and they have a happy life after that. So one that me as a little girl, when I firstly heard that in childhood, I was like so confused. Like, oh, this king is such an evil. Like he doesn't receive any punishment, and the protagonist still married to him. Like this story was always a little bit weird to me, but everyone, like every adults and everyone like in my environment seems to regard as that's a super good ending, like Snow White. I mean, but I have to say like the usually like the folklore or the fairy tales usually their ending is a little bit weird in terms of like a
True.
current female perspective. So I think me myself, so in my version, you can see Shahrazad like kind of never accepts like the guilty and the killing of the king. So she kind of trying to find a way, not to say revenge, but to end this kind of ritual in her own way. So this is a kind of like my personal perspective. Like I don't think this should happen.
I see.
And another thing is like sometimes like sometimes we feel our voice like when we suggest something is not happening right in the society, sometimes we receive some backlash. Something like people take as a common, like the ritual in the
True.
folklore, like the
True.
killing
True.
a girl
True.
every day. Sometimes we feel that's not right. Sometimes we think this should stop. But sometimes when we speak our voice, we will receive backlash and attacks.
True.
But I think at least in this game, I think I hope this story of her does should suggest like you should because telling story is a power. Sometimes the
True.
people
True.
get some people get suppressed or some people that get their voice lost
True. True.
because
Very
they
true.
cannot say that. So this game I think is also suggests like everyone should tell their own story.
True.
That's the only way to make sense to make people to see you to hear your voice.
True. 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 True.
Mm.
Why do you think, like in our society, it's so hard to fight back against those things that we just get lazy to accept that that's life?
I don't know. That's what become like a huge discussion, like a philosophical or like a
Yeah, but that's
discussion.
your game about, right? So
Yeah,
that's why I'm
yeah, that's
asking
my
it.
game. I don't know. I think I think that's a very heavy topic. I don't know if I have the right way to discuss about, but I think it's happening. It's happening. It's happening everywhere. Like
True, true.
I think it's generally about. I can generally think that's about like narrative power. So what's the narrative power is like, for example, the war, the conflicts, for example, selection of president, I don't know, it's also a kind of a power discussion about narrative power. Like who has larger stories that has more viewers?
True, true,
Whose
true,
story is more accepted by more people? And
true,
sometimes
true.
when some party or some people have larger narrative power, they can kind of like, I don't say control or manipulate, but they can spread this story to more people, and more
True,
people will
true,
accept that.
true.
So that I think I'm not a super research. I'm not a like super intelligent researcher in terms of like a sociologist. So I don't have a clear explanation about why that happens. But I think this is already commonly happens every day. So
True,
that's
true.
why people now like I believe game developers, at least including myself, like we suggest like we should think about inclusivity, we should think about diversity, we should think about more voice like was lost in the mainstream. I
True.
think at least me myself as a female developer, I think it's very natural for me to think about that. So I don't know the answer like why it's happening, but I see what I think is like, oh, it's already happening, and everything I know is like I need to make my voice.
Hmm. I appreciate that, by the way. I think it's very important, like you also said, to really raise up your voice and really go against the flow of these things that we are like we are used to get living, right? So that is very crazy that a lot of people are still like they might be questioning everyday life and how it's working out for them at the end of the day in their living room or at home, but they are like not raising up their voice, right? So and I think
Mm,
it's very bad because it makes like people in some words or some terms like be lazy about it, right? So like they
mm.
accept their fate, and it's very weird for me as well because I think like if you really want to change the world for the better, not just for yourself but for society as a whole, you really like need to take the first steps, right? So
But I also understand some people may have they are very stressful um to speak that they receive some like external force to suppress them
true,
to
true,
do
true,
that.
true,
And
true,
I
true.
have to say that, for example, at least in East Asia, like when I was in like high school, like usually like people suggest, oh, it's the girl should not learn programming. That's too hard. I really heard this kind of speech a lot. I don't know what's happening like in Western, but in East Asia that happens a lot. So I only seen like younger girls like talking to me said, oh, is that too hard? I never seen like the boys telling like, oh, okay, I think this is too hard. Should I learn that? That's usually like in some, because especially because I'm working on AI, so one in all kinds of conference or some, I was invited for a summer school. Sometimes I was the only female. So I think this is like sometimes, like for example, if there's another female developer that said, okay, I want to become a developer, or I want to start to make a game, like in East Asia, sometimes like there's some like external force or some existing bias and the force, like they in their education, in their environment, putting them to say, oh, you may not, you should not do that. So I don't think like people are always like lazy, or I mean, it's,
True,
in terms
true,
of
true. I
me,
agree with you. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but you still, yeah, like you still went on the road of your vision, right? So there are people like
Mm.
you who go against the flow. What helped you? How do you feel
I
about that? Like, what helped you
um
not to take step back and really go into
yes.
your vision?
So I think one thing is like when I get interested in AI, one day, so in 2018, that's when I started to make chatbots. One thing I witnessed, like when I pitched my work to my supervisors in undergrad school, they said, oh, all of their work, even all of their views, especially even though they are like professors in computer science, they said, okay, AI is so stupid. This don't have future. Are you considering making AI into a voice a speaker? That's the only thing they can imagine. Like, are you considering making that into a voice speaker? I said, maybe not. I may make a game or artwork because maybe design an AI is very similar to design an NPC in game, but no one understands what I mean. What I mean is the important thing is the story and experience, like designed by human, not the technology itself. I always insist that, but only very few people can understand what's happening, and people don't care. Like AI technology was not popular back to then. Like the most phenomenal product is just Siri, but Siri is just like that. So and I think about okay, maybe someday the team I like, the developer I like, will make a game like based on conversational AI in a way I can really enjoy. Back to then I think I will wait for that day to happen. But after I get more education in the school, after I take a master degree, when I witness there still no people understand what do I mean like design AI, design NPC, and I said okay maybe like and when I started to make demo, even the ones on the one I was teaching, just a demo in the school assignment, I just think my mindset changed into maybe I should become the one who makes the game I like. Especially when especially because I'm always been a researcher and artist in the AI. Not to like use AI to generate image, not that way. I mean to make it into like interactive works. I think maybe I should if I didn't do that, this game, this kind of voice and interaction will never exist.
True.
So when I realized that, like, if I'm not doing that, I won't see a game I love in a way like I want to convey my voice. And then I think there's so many, especially when I become, I'm kind of hesitant to say I'm an expert, but I do consider maybe at least a kind of certain scale of experts into creative AI, at least for the past several years. I think maybe it's my responsibility to let people know what's happening here, how it works. I publish papers about our game system, and there's some like academic journal use our game as the cover. Because only very few games like explaining what's happening behind it. I joining lectures and speech in both like art galleries and game expo to let people know this is one possibility of how AI like participates into game development as a gameplay rather than generating a set ourselves. Yeah, so I think my mindset changed like from I need to share the story, otherwise no one will know about that. That's the reason why I keep doing that.
I see. Thank you for that. Okay, so do you think, by the way, that you always had this mindset of yours of going into things that you are passionate about and do not listen to others, or it's something that's developed in you throughout the years of being passionate about AI? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think in the high level, because I still define myself as a media artist, so the reason the moment you define yourself about you are artist is the moment you believe like yourself, not yourself the ego, or you believe your mind, your idea worth to be heard by many other people. So I think this kind of mindset, whatever I'm doing, game or not, will always exist in myself. It's just that not all of my ideas or all of my stories came in form of game. So I think this kind of motivation, I believe there's something I want to speak should be heard by others. This will always stay with me. But in terms of games, I had to say I'm not that confident because, like I said, to make an indie game, to consider an indie game, like especially like when you consider as an indie game, you need to consider your audience. How should you pitch to your audience? What kind of like player are you attracting? I don't know. Maybe after several months, if maybe after like our like Steam demo launch, I may change. Like no one play it. Maybe I don't know. At least
no, it's not true. I think a lot of people will love it. It's very unique in my opinion.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm very humble in terms of me as a position of a game developer. But at least I believe my mind as an artist, like I should tell a story about ourselves. I should tell something creative about AI. That's what always exists. I'm confident about that.
True. And what do you think? What could cause this very positive and strong mentality of yours? Like, I'm assuming that you were born with this mentality, or I'm assuming that it like started as from childhood. But what could cause? Were your parents like this, where they had this mentality as well?
It's a little bit. I have like a little bit complex stories. Um, I mean, they accept that. I mean, for them, like there's not much difference. Oh, they're making arts, making weird interactive stuff with AI we don't understand. So they usually accept. They usually accept that. But that's to say, like, but to make game is to get more public. So they sometimes they told me like to be careful like what you present yourself because there are some articles, like for example the media press. I'm from China, so that's some Chinese media press. So they sometimes like say, "Oh, you need to be more careful."
I see.
So because sometimes when the game become like controversial, if it receives some backlash, it will also be dangerous for a developer and their family. At least in my point of view. So I
I see.
also
I see.
yeah I don't tell them I'm still making game. I just tell them oh I'm making like interactive arts. And said okay that's okay.
That's a cover story, right?
Yeah, kind of.
I see. I see. I see. Okay. Okay. And so, by the way, so you mentioned that your game will be released to Steam at some point. But are you planning to release your game as for other platforms as well, or you never thought
Mm,
about that still?
I think currently only like feasible in HIO and Steam,
Okay.
or maybe just on our website because I need the keyboard typing, so it's not
I
suitable
see.
for
True. True.
console.
True. True. True.
So yeah, that's the current I should think about. Just seem like usually people do. So not many other like available options to be honest.
I see. Okay. 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 And so, what about the goal with the difficulty of your game? Like how difficult you want it to be as for your
The goal
game?
in the game, like in terms
Yeah.
of
No, no,
design.
no. With the difficulty goal of your game, like how difficult you want it to be your game to really like shape the story of your game. Like, can you fail in the game? Like, is it an option to
Oh,
fail in the
do you mean
game?
do you mean how difficult
Yeah,
is the game itself? Oh, yeah, it's very depends on like the public participant. So previously, in the early so the current demo is already available, but it's on HIO. So in the early version this year, some people may think it's too easy because the king will like when the king accepts your narrative, it's well they have a pattern. The player find a pattern to always trigger the king to mention the weapon. For example, some player may say um, uh, some warrior giving a name to a sword, and then they plan the story around that. And then some players say, "Oh, this is too easy. I can pass it to 20 minutes." And some players think it's too hard. Like I said, because some player it's become really stressful when they are request to write a story. So some players think this is extremely stressful and hard because they don't know how to make a story. So we put much time into improve the level guidance and to
I see.
improve the challenge curve. So currently we have many guidance in this game like to tell you, oh, this is if you don't know how to start, here is something you can start with. We put that into the input area so people can just copy that. And in the challenge, like the king currently, if you collect one in the middle of the game, like when you collect two weapons, you need to collect four in total. When you collect two weapons, the king will be aware, like why you always tell a story about the weapon. You should stop doing that. And then the player need to think about, okay, I need to change the strategy. So we are one that we kind of always collect feedback from the players. So we want to came into a neutral way. We don't want you can't fail this game if you're what I witnessed for streamers and for players in the game expo. Usually it's like they make like for example they make some erotic jokes or they mention some internet memes into the story, which is not suitable for this game context because that's Asian Persian, and the king get angry. They said, "What are you talking about?" Uh,
Yeah.
and then they keep pissing off the king, and then they died because the king lost their patience. And then when they died, they came back and they said, "Okay, now I not understand." Then they seriously put in a story. So I think I don't really. I think the difficulty is not important in this game. I
Sure.
just want to create I just want to create an experience that people can enjoy. Like I'm making a story in the game. I think that's very important because even though many people are already getting used to talk with AI, to talk with ChatGPT, I thought, oh, maybe it's boring to play this game because everyone talked to AI, right? But this told me this feels very different when they are required to write a story.
True,
So
true,
I think writing a story that you enjoy, this is the core experience I want to convey, and I want to remove the obstacles before that.
true, true. And it's really like sometimes if you put people's creative mind into a box, they will be even more creative, right? So if you just offer them ChatGPT to talk with it, like
Oh
they
no,
will
that
be
won't
like
work.
messing up with it. But if you like offer your game, then they will have this box of the core team and the story, which they can be more creative in that, right? So they will know where to
Mm.
start. And I think it's like a good starting point for a lot of people who
Mm.
are not sure what
Yeah,
to
and
talk
I
about.
said, yeah, and in some research and some discussion, some researchers suggest like the AI is ultimately always doing role playing. I think that is fantastic. Like
True,
even
true,
though you
true, true,
just plain talk to ChatGPT, they are doing a role playing as an assistant.
true,
So because they are doing role playing, we as a developer we can become the director to us.
true, true,
Okay,
true.
here from now on you are like what I said in the prompt. From now on, you are the ancient Persian king Shahryar in 1001 Night. Here is your task.
True,
So I
true,
think
true.
to design that, that is also what I shared in public speech. Like this is how we game developer we design this kind of experience. It's totally different from what you experience from ChatGPT.
True, true, true. Very true. Okay, so and throughout your developer journey, how do you feel? How have you changed as a person in other territories of your life from being a game developer? How do you feel
Mm.
about that?
I think, especially because my main job, like my main position is research, both researcher and artist. I think it really educates me to how to let the work itself to speak. I
Okay,
think I become a better. Uh, I think I can provide better service in term. I'm better at communication, to be honest,
I see.
because to develop a game you need to communicate with developers, communicate with media, with influencer. I think I'm got really better skill in communication. And then I think it's also educates to become a developer. It's also educate me to accept to think about different voices because usually in art world usually like media arts like people won't criticize you
I see.
because your game don't work well because it's very usual for any interactive work in gallery doesn't work well. People will say, "Oh, yeah, let's come back tomorrow." I don't know, but in games, like everything should speak by itself. I
True,
think it's
true.
also improve me myself. For example, there's a very my friend like there's a very good artist who has a really huge exhibition in a very famous gallery in London. They make art. They make game based on Unreal Engine, and then everyone going that exhibition will enjoy that. To be honest, but meanwhile, they released the game on Steam as a free game. Even though as a free game, they receive like half bad comments because like some people could say, oh, they have a bug here, the control doesn't feel smooth. So I think I was also educated to think about the audience. When I
I
make a
see.
work, I always now I immediately imagined what people feel, like what will people do when they face with my game and my works. So I think to developing game also make myself to be more to be to make myself to be better with people, to make me more communicative, to make me to be more considerate towards others when they are coming into my work.
I see. I see. And have you found it hard to like read other people comments or opinions about your game?
Uh, yeah, it's fine, and not many comments. But what makes me afraid is each time when the media press release an article, I'm really afraid to read their comments because usually because usually like my social media, like my Twitter, like people usually follow you because they like your game or they
True,
are
true, true,
curious.
true.
But if like some of other developers, I don't know if you know the Crypt Master. Crypt
Yeah,
Master
I
is
love that
another
game.
happy game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they share our game, and then Crypt Master is like totally because Master doesn't use any generative AI, even though it feels like they're using that. So their game become a kind of iconic, like explaining how to make a game without AI. It's kind of but they're very supportive. We talk a lot with the developer Lee Williams. He's like, I really learned a lot from him. So each time he shared about our game, there's some comments said like kind of against AI, which I totally understand. But sometimes I'm really afraid to read the comments like that. But I'm getting used to that, to be honest. This to accept and to read about those comments is also part of the responsibility and a goal for me to making a game.
True. And it's also like what about you said before is that to present AI for people for their better understanding about it, right? So
Yes. I think it's also giving me to educate. I gave some speech in some universities. I joined a summer school. I think it's also it's like a example for me to let people know. Sometimes like I know some researcher in AI and in a game, like when they put some, oh, here's the current examples of a game based on language model, and like, our game is in that. So I think at least it works well as an example.
yeah. But yeah, I guess so. It can be sometimes very scary and hard to read those negative comments because
Yeah,
still it's
yeah.
your vision and it's your game and what you are making for a lot of years. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Are you down to go into some questions from my community before I ask some more questions?
Yeah.
Thank,
Yeah, sure.
thank
Sure,
you,
welcome.
thank you. Okay, let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if there is any question. Let us know. Bármilyen kérdés? Bármilyen kérdés? Let me reopen up my chat. Any question, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and gentlemen, any question? Bármilyen kérdés?
How to say hello in Hungarian?
It's sziasztok. Sziasztok.
Yes. Sziasztok?
Yeah, nice. You nailed it.
Sziasztok?
Nice.
Sziasztok.
Okay, so Minnie has a question. Okay, let me translate it. Are you planning to have your game on more languages or only in English? And yeah, that's the question. She would like to have this game in Hungarian too. We talked about it, by the way, with you before
Yeah.
in private. And yeah, that she is saying that that this game really deserves to be successful and be on other languages as well, so
I
people
hope
can understand it.
I so this is the tricky thing. So firstly, like this game came with an early day when I was like totally newbie in programming, so has like kind of a little bit mess in the localization. Like you need to, it's not all game can immediately have a localization because in the iterations we need to consider that. The other thing is it's a little bit hard for it's it needs much time, more time than usual localization work. Because for example, if you do localization for a visual novel, you accept, oh, here is the spreadsheet. Let me translate.
True.
For us, we need to translate the prompt for AI, and you need to we if so currently we sometimes me and our developer we just said, oh, maybe this game can only work into the language we know, that's Chinese and English, potentially maybe Japanese, I don't know, because we have at least nearly 10 modules like in different prompts to consider like this, how to put that into this specific language. I see. And it's not only about the prompt, even about the keyword. For example, we have a list of the keyword like a sword, shield, and then how swords is speak in different language. For example, in Chinese, they may have swords may have two words to describe it. Maybe in English, it has 8 words to describe that. English usually have more words into describe a certain category. So we really need to have a very close collaboration if we want to do the localization. But I think it will be very fun if we find out how to do the localization. But currently it's very hard because this is a game based on AI. I have seen other games based on language model like Suck Up or the Generally AI Girlfriend. They do localization. But our game has a very intricate system about how to pick up the language. So I think it will be very challenging for us, especially if like you also need to consider if this language model understands that language.
True. It's true. Yeah. Okay.
I definitely looking forward to more localizations, but I think it will take a while for us to sort out.
Okay. Thank you, by the way, for the question and for the answer as well. Thank you. Okay, so
Thank you.
another question from me would be like, what was the motive or what influenced your vision of art of your game, like the graphic side of your game or graphic segments of your game?
Uh, I always love pixel art.
Okay.
I definitely want to make game based on pixel art,
Okay.
and I want to make. I was influenced by a short hike because they
Okay.
are making 3D to 2D, and the Valhalla, the cyber like cocktail monitor, simulated. So because I always like pixel art, and I always think pixel art has more tolerance with the content.
I see.
And because like in our game, because I'm considering different kinds of generative content. For example, we are making experiments with generative NPC. Like when you describe a character, this character will jump into the world. So we need to consider how to do the real-time generation of the NPC's graphics. So I always consider that pixel art has high tolerance in the content. If you make a realistic NPC, you will immediately spot all kind of weird behavior of them. So I think pixel art, me myself, is super fan for the pixel art. And then meanwhile, I think to make pixel game has more like mobility and flexibilities in terms of development.
I see. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And so, what about the music? Is it something that you made by yourself as well, or you hired someone for composing
I
music for your game?
Yeah, I hired a composer to make the music in the game.
I see.
And it felt I one message my requirement for her is that it need to be a like the main scene. I think it works fine. My Persian friends also said they like the music, so I should think it works fine. I said this should be a music like make people to be able to stay here in a very long time because they need to
Sure.
focus to write about the story. So and it shouldn't sound too stressful. Like if it sounds too stressful, they may feel hesitate to put their story.
True.
Yeah, I hear a composer. Yeah.
True. 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 Okay. Okay. And so, what about the goal of your length of your game? So, with the length of your game, what was the goal with
Mm,
that? Do you want it to have your game for a very long story be able to play it by players, or is it like my
yes.
shorter story to play through?
Yes, because I'm a super like I only play games with stories. I'm a usually the main genre is like a narrative game.
Okay.
So I will consider this game as in generally is like a narrative game with multiple chapters. For example, Shahrazad will meet other girls who died before. Maybe they will like telling story together with the
Okay.
king and king in like because it's called 1001 Nights, right? Shahrazad goes through many nights to
It would
reach the
make
goal.
sense to relive all the stories, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it won't be like 1,000 lines. That's too long. But maybe like
80 plus
it
hours story.
not and maybe about 5 or 6 hours
I see.
to make people feel like Shahrazad really goes through many nights to reach the end.
I see.
So definitely, I will be put multiple chapters, and the game currently the demo itself will be very replayable because you can always make different stories to see.
True.
After each place, you have a storybook, a generated storybook with a title. I think it will be fun to see the generated ending and titles to see that. There's a writer play our games for like 30 plays through the current demo for 30 times. Like he shared a lot. They shared a lot of contents in our Discord, and I think it's well. I hope it to be fun, even without considering like the multi chapters. I think it should already be fun to make different stories
I see.
to play through.
I see. I see. And so, what about the testing you mentioned before? Like, is it hard to test the stories that are developed out by the player and also by the help of AI? Like, is it hard to test those stories when you develop your game?
What do you mean is it hard to make a player
No,
test?
no, yeah, to test the stories. Yeah, yeah, those stories. Like they play through it. Like since it's like based on the player's choice. Like, is it hard to test
Mm.
what you will get from the player and from the AI?
It's fine. This is like the playtesting stuff. We analyze the data like collected from the
Okay.
exhibitions from the backend, but and I kind of because there's too many stories I receive. Like it's very hard to go through. I use the language model to summarize like please tell me what's this story about. Does it has NPC? What it's about? So I read through the summary so I can have a better sense about this is the kind of topic that
I
people
see.
are talking about. So I think I enjoy this process. I think to explore this is usually like when the play developer collecting data, they don't need to read through
True, true,
the
true,
story
true,
written by
true,
others,
true,
but we need to read the written stories by others. But I think it's a very fun and a very new experience for ourselves.
true, true. Nice. Okay. Okay. Okay, any more questions, ladies and gentlemen, by the way? Bármilyen más kérdés? Bármilyen más kérdés? By the way, it's very interesting that you were talking about that you are like showing your game at universities and other like
Mm.
famous places, not just at Steam page. Because I believe that with video games, with the help of video games, you really can teach people, right? So this
Yes,
game of
yes.
yours is a bright example for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very fun. Like there's a professor in university said like because they're teaching something about like AI language models, said can we show your game as an example? So he play like during the class and then invite the students to play it to show like this is an example about how language model work.
Nice, nice, nice. By the way, have those people changed their minds on you when you showed them your game who did not believe
Yeah,
in you?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's very important to show people like in person. And I really move in some game expo, like some people may be like very skeptical about a game with AI, like but when they really seeing it, especially when they see the art, they said, okay, let's see how it happens. So what I really enjoy in the games expo is like me standing by and listening to people. Some people said, oh, this is a game that yeah, I really surprised me. I never imagined AI can work in that way. It's changed a little bit my mind towards AI. This is the part I always enjoy. I don't I believe it won't mean like they definitely change their position towards
True,
AI. But
true, true.
I think they hear my voice, suggest this game, like all
True,
the arts made by human artists. Let's see how AI creates story for you.
true.
And some developers I met, especially because our game is becoming nominated by some game awards, they said it is also like when you present your work in person, when I see, oh, this is because if I didn't present it in person, people believe this game, oh, made by some like Silicon Valley tech bro with investment to make a game about AI. No, not about that. So,
It's
and
true,
I
it's
said,
true, it's true,
yeah,
yeah.
when they see me, like, oh, this so I always improve the disclosure contents on the Steam. They say, oh, I'm
True,
totally self-funded without any income and funded
true,
toward
true,
this
true,
game.
true, true,
Many
true.
of us are still students and researchers, and when they say, oh, this is okay, sounds different, I believe me myself, and this game is actually different from the stereotypes
True.
about the people who catch the trending of the
You're
AI.
not paid for some make some visions come true, right?
No, no.
I love
Yeah, so
that. I
it's
love
very
that
fun.
story. But it's very true. It's funny story, but it's very true as well. So yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Mm.
Okay, another question by the way, let me read it. Okay. Okay, interesting question will be from Minnie again. What do you think about video game development? How do you feel um, about the connection between mind and soul, and which is more important in video game development? How do you
What do
feel
you mean
about
by
it?
mind and soul?
Okay, let me read it. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So she's saying that she's opinion is that like when people play games or develop games, games have like different outcomes for people. Some
Mm.
may affect their minds, some may affect their soul. And since you're making a game that is combined with elements of soul, of course, the story element and
Mm.
also the mind, which is based to understanding of AI, which is more important, you think, for the players and for you. If I
I
got the
I don't
question correct, of course.
I don't know because soul is like a very like abstract and like very subjective.
I think soul.
subjective
I
feeling.
think for the soul, she meant the story of yours that, for example, women were not accepted and you were not accepted for your own ideas. That's the soul part, and AI would be the mind part. So, which
I
throughout the
see.
development, which was more important for you, and which is more important for the players, in your opinion?
I think for players is more important is mind. So what I
Okay.
suggest, what I present like in the version, I don't know if you play through the current
Yeah,
version.
I did
Um,
twice,
yes,
and one
yeah,
times I
yeah.
stuck.
So
I even told you that.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. So you can see, like, I really make an introduction of story. Like, Shahrazad need to go through the palace. So she heard some rumors and discussion about her. So this is important to me. The soul part is important for me. Like, I definitely need to present it to people.
True.
But it doesn't matter, like, if all players mind that. For example, some players really kind of emphasize with that, but some players they don't really mind what's the context for Shahrazad to start a story. But some players may like enjoy and kind of like resonate with that. But I think the soul part is important for us, but I think the mind part is more important for the players because it's ultimate is the players to accept or mind or not mind or to like think it's important or not. So I think mind is more important for players, but it's very important for me myself to present. You can see like Shahrazad become very angry, like she kind of argue with king before the death of the king. This is the part for so very important to us because this is the reason why we make this game.
True.
But how to reach that stage? What kind of story you make? I think it depends on the players.
I see. I see.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you for the question and answer as well. Thank you. Okay. Any more question? Oh, and also, Minnie wrote not a question but a compliment for you that you have a very nice and cute face, and it seems that you're a very
Thank you.
kind person with
Thank you.
like a very good soul. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that.
Okay, any more question? Any more question? Bármilyen más kérdés? Bármilyen más kérdés? Any more question? We talked about a lot of topics, but what I haven't asked from you is that what's the release date goal? I know you talked about it a bit, like you still don't know, but
Um,
because
that's the
like it's a
part
good
is
game and we want to play it full version, like when?
but I can say like the Steam demo launch is this month 24 of October
Okay,
because that's 1024. That's the I think that's the festival for programmers because 1024 is like integer for important number in computer.
true, true,
But
true,
for
true.
release days, I don't know. But I imagine maybe next year October 1 because that's 1001, right?
True,
1001.
true, true,
So
true, true,
let's
true.
hope. Yeah, let's say that. I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know.
okay, okay. Exclusive information here. Thank you for that. Okay, okay. Do you love numbers, by the way? Because you were talking about a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. I think about actually that's one trick. I think about maybe this game should have 9 chapters because 1001 in terms of like how to say in as we said I forgot how to say our uh in terms of binary like in binary
Oh,
like 1001
binary. Okay,
nine.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's with 9. So maybe we should have 9 chapters. I don't
Okay,
know. It
okay,
depends on our
okay,
energy.
okay, okay, okay. Is that something that you love since from your childhood, like loving numbers?
Not number numbers. I keep so you can see the titles. I use the numeric 1001
Oh,
because
okay.
I want to link it back to this is about it's somehow about artificial intelligence. So
I see.
I want to keep somehow a little bit related to like the technology.
I see. Okay. Okay. Okay, and so if you would happen to have to choose between arts and AI, what would be your choice? I know it's a hard
I
question
don't
because you love
I
both,
don't
but
think what the reason I exist my existence like my art is always that these two should not be separate. So I won't choose because it's always happened together towards me.
okay.
So there's no choice to
Okay,
me.
good question. Good question, good answer. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. And so we talked about like you are not sure about your future, but if you would still go down the road of making other games, would they be
Yeah,
connected with AI, by the way, or you would like to
yeah, yeah,
make
yeah.
totally different games and not connected with AI? How
I
do you
I
feel about
see
that?
I think me myself, I think everything my soul is already combined with artificial intelligence. So there's some I already think about if I make another game. There's some other artworks I make called Hyborg Agency. It's interactive website. There's a virtual forest. This is a virtual forest. You can talk with the AI deers inside. So I may consider making that into a game in next step.
Wow. Okay.
Because all of my work is kind of around around language, about conversations,
I
about
see.
communication. So my next work, if I make that into a game, I may consider the players need to find a way to create a new language with AI. This is the core rough concept, but I don't know when will that came into life. But I do consider making more games in future, but still around AI, definitely.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's a more philosophical question for you. Why do you think like some people out there in our society are more opened up to talk about deep topics with AI rather than with human beings? Like why they are more opened up to AI, for example, talking about God or talking about our society than, for example, their family members. Why is that? Why do you think?
I think it's because like something is more personal. Like you
Okay,
need to feel secure about like your personal memories.
I see.
But I think this is also why I think it's important to like say share your story to the public, because like when you this is also why like I think it's important to make games, to make works,
True.
because sometimes like you, for example, me myself, I may hesitate to tell about my personal stories or my personal thought, but my game will speak for me. My work will speak for me, because like you don't want to expose. It's stressful to expose yourself, to expose your hurt, to expose your scars to others.
True, true,
But
true,
I
true.
think, but I think I mean like to play the game, to see the game, to hear others' voices is very important. But I think in the but in the meanwhile, it's that sometimes it's very dangerous, or I don't like it. It's like everything came back into the grand narrative. It's the kind of ignore the personal voices. But I think we should targeting for a more inclusive, a more open society, like everyone can share about their personal thought and stories.
True,
And
true,
I mean,
true.
this is very abstract, but I mean, this is
No,
my
I
thought.
agree with you totally, and what you said before is very true as well. That we live in a society where like people get cancelled for their voices and for their honesty, which is very bad in my opinion as well. So yeah, it
I
needs
think
to
this
be
happens
changed.
everywhere in the world,
True,
but
true, true,
let's make
true.
it to support.
True.
Yeah.
If you just go online to any platform, for example, TikTok or YouTube, you see that as well. So if an artist puts out their songs or videos or anything, they will be cancelled by some
There's some,
people.
I mean, there's some horrible, like, for example, recently, there's know some Korean, I'm Chinese, but I know some Korean women, they said they were like attacked by deepfake. There's a huge like deepfake incident that their face was stolen and they're voicing everywhere on the social media. I think that's really, it's like was heartbroken because I have many like Korean female friends. And I think, yeah, it's very important to make the voice in the public.
True,
And
true.
if some people are not able to do that, this should be the we who are able to do that to voice for
We
them.
should help them grow their voice,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
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 yeah.
to make them more brave. Yeah, yeah, I feel
Mm.
that. Yeah, and it's very scary what you said about, by the way, stealing voice and pictures, because
Yeah,
I can see in the
because
future
yeah,
when our voice will be stolen and used by AI and some freaks on the
yeah, and
internet, right? It's very scary. Like it's
yeah, it's more
crazy.
horrible for them is because like
True.
this deepfake incident is specifically targeted as females and their face, like they're stolen for their photos were stolen by their very close friend, or like there's some parents stolen by their secretly take photos by
I
their
see.
child. It's like hard to imagine to make the
True.
pornographic content. It's a horrible. Like I cannot imagine.
True.
So I think it's definitely technology is like double edged like blades. But I think
True.
we as humans we need to moderate. Need to moderate and to we myself we need to moderate and to
True.
see how we to
True. True. True.
use that.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay. Okay, any more questions? Bármilyen más kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Bármilyen más kérdés? Bármilyen más kérdés? Any more questions? By the way, what was the hardest part throughout the development of your own game for the years that you?
Energy management.
Okay,
Yeah, because like the time the energy is so limited. Like you, and especially this game is like I'm the main designer. Like most of the content I need to still manually like put and design by
I
myself.
see. I see.
But my energy is very limited and do PhD and then do the game. So you need to always very hard to choose. Like okay, in this version, which function, which feature should we add? Can we finish that? Can I finish that? Should will I still able to sleep if I do that? So I think this is the hardest part.
I see. I see. I see. I see. Okay. Okay. And so about time management, like how do you deal with time management? How do you like find the golden path or the golden, spot
There's
for
no
or there
there's
is
no golden path.
no golden
There's
path. Okay.
no. I'm trying to, but me and my main developer, she is like super intelligent people. We each time we discuss this, and we reading. She reads books about management. Like okay, this is the let's put a spreadsheet. Like let's evaluate. Should we do this? It's like lower input, higher output, or whatever. We decide. We have a kind of putting a workflow to decide which task should we go through in this time. So I think it's like we need to keep learning and keep learning and keep improving that.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. Were there, by the way, some elements of your game that you had to cut off from your game throughout the development of it?
Um, it's not cut off. It's mostly like said we tried, but they said they keep it for future. Like for example,
Okay.
for the NPC generation, I made something a paper about that. Maybe I don't know, but it's like we said, oh, this sounds really fun. Like to see the character stepping out from the story, and after we make the initial prototypes and we evaluate, this is very hard to control. It's very hard for us to moderate and to make sure it happens. So let's put this in the future. So there's many features like we are excited about it, but we cannot do that at this stage because the time is so limited. For example, only till this version we have the function about the storybook. Like after playthrough, you have the book you have like the saving logs about your story because it took so much time and work to design the back end, to design the data collections, to design the data structure. So rather than to remove, it's more about how to postpone certain features in the later version.
I see. I see. Okay. So, what would be the ultimate core message of your game that you would like to give out for the players when they will play your game? How do you feel about that?
To tell the story, to shape the world,
Okay.
to change your fate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in these things, by the way, that they will like help people, not just your game, but that in the future people will change for the better and will be more brave about sharing their stories? Do you believe in that?
I hope my game have that kind of power, but I don't know. It
I'm
depends on
sure
if
of
we
it,
do
by
it.
the way. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. It has, yeah.
Mm. And I think it's a very intricate problem, like because to let Shahrazad to fight against the king is kind of the agency came from the character. It kind of the agency came with our developers. This is the story we as developer we want to present,
True, true,
but
true.
it will mixed together with the player agency, which they make up the story that's told by Shahrazad. I still don't. I mean, this is you always a topic like in most academia industry, like how you as the developer allow that to mix together. But I think I don't know how well that happens ultimately. But I'm really excited to see how these two agencies will like kind of combine or influx with each other.
Nice, nice. Thank you for that. Okay,
Thank you.
so we discussed a lot of topics here today. Is there anything that we might missed or I haven't asked and you would like to talk about?
Currently, not add to Steam wishlist and welcome to read our papers if you're
True, true,
interested.
true, 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 true. Do that. Don't forget to do that. Okay, so for those who are watching us live, thank you for tuning in here today. for this episode of Dev Life Show, and I'm very thankful for you and very honored that you joined us. Like I said, I will need some of your minutes, but for those who are watching us or who will be watching back the VOD or the edited version of this episode of my Dev Life Show, thank you that you joined us for today's episode. And bye bye. Have a nice day and night, depending where you live. Bye bye. Bye bye. And don't
Bye
forget to
bye.
visit the game and try out the demo
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah.